Time is a relative concept, but on 26th April 1986, at exactly 1:23 am, time stopped for the people of Pripyat. Inside the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant, the 1,000-ton steel and concrete lid of reactor number 4 began violently shaking. Shockwaves ripped through the building as workers realized the unthinkable. The nuclear reaction was completely out of control. Desperate to stop it, an operator slammed the emergency shutdown button, known as EZ5. This was supposed to plunge control rods into the core and kill the reaction. But instead of saving them, pressing that button triggered a catastrophic explosion. Flames and highly radioactive material shot into the night sky. To put the sheer scale of this into perspective, the amount of radioactive material released into the atmosphere was equal to 400 Hiroshima atomic bombs. This is the story of the world's worst nuclear disaster. A story of a fatal design flaw, a desperate cover up, and the unsung heroes who knowingly walked into a radioactive hell to save Europe from total annihilation.
The Chernobyl plant was the pride of the Soviet Union, supplying 10% of Ukraine's electricity. The disaster didn't start with sabotage, it started with a routine safety test. In the event of a power cut, the plant's backup diesel generators took about 1 to 2 minutes to turn on. Engineers needed to know, could the leftover rational energy from the steam turbines keep the crucial cooling water pumps running during those vulnerable minutes? To find out, they had to lower the reactor's output. But the reactor became dangerously unstable. A byproduct called xenon 135 began accumulating in the core. Xenon absorbs the neutrons that power the nuclear reaction, a phenomenon known as xenon poisoning. Because of this, power output plummeted all the way down to just 30 megawatts for below the test parameters. Desperately to get the power backup and complete the test, the shift supervisor ordered workers to pull out the control rods. A reactor normally requires a minimum of 15 control rods to the remaining safe. That night, operators pulled out all but 8. The reactor was now a ticking time bomb.
1:19 am, with the control rods removed, power spiked violently. The cooling water in the reactor instantly boiled into steam. Without water to cool it, the reaction accelerated exponentially. Realizing their massive mistake, the workers hit the emergency stop button at 1:23 am to reinsert the control rods and hit the brakes. But the RBMK reactor had a deadly design flaw. The main body of the control rods was made of boron, which slows reactions down. However, the tips of the rods were made of graphite, and graphite is a moderator. It actually speeds up nuclear reactions. As the rods entered the core, those graphite tips caused a massive instant power surge. The reactor jumped to an unfathomable 33,000 megawatts. Seconds later, the massive 1,000-ton lid was blown into the sky. The graphite inside the core caught fire, and a deadly plume of over 100 radioactive elements spewed into the atmosphere.
Firefighters rushed to the scene, believing it was a standard roof fire. They fought the flames without proper protective gear. Within weeks, 28 of these brave first responders died from excruciating radiation sickness. But the nightmare was just beginning. The radioactive core was melting rapidly, burning through the concrete floor towards a massive tank of water below. If that superheated radioactive magma hit the water pool, it would trigger a second massive steam explosion. Experts estimated that this third blast would have rendered the entirety of the European continent uninhabitable for 5 lakh years. To stop it, someone had to dive into the pitch black, highly radioactive water and manually open the drainage valves. 3 men volunteered, On May 4, 1986, equipped with simple diving gear and a single lamp, they waded into the deadly water. Against all odds, they found the valves, drained the tanks, and saved millions of lives.
The Soviet Union tried to hide the disaster from the world. It wasn't until radioactive dust triggered alarms all the way in Sweden that the truth came out. The disaster ultimately cost the Soviet Union $235 billion, contributing heavily to the empire's final collapse. Tragically, thousands of children living in the path of the radioactive rain developed thyroid cancer from drinking contaminated milk. Today, a $3 billion steel and concrete shield, known as the New Safe Confinement, seals Reactor 4. It is designed to contain the radiation for the next 100 years. The surrounding 30-kilometer exclusion zone remains completely abandoned by humans. Yet, in our absence, nature has reclaimed the ruin. The irradiated pine trees, now known as the Red Forest, surround a thriving ecosystem where endangered wolves, bears, and deer roam freely through the ghost town. Chernobyl stands today as a haunting monument to human arrogance and engineering failure. But the silent, overgrown streets of Pripyat also leave us with a profound realization: no matter how badly humanity scars the earth, long after we are gone, nature will survive.
For those in the field of electrical and electronic engineering, Chernobyl is the ultimate cautionary tale. At its heart, a nuclear power plant is an incredibly complex electrical generation system. The disaster highlights the crucial importance of power system stability and control system. The Chernobyl control room lacked real-time accurate sensor feedback. Today, Tripoli principles dictate how we build automated fault detection and diagnosis system. Engineers now utilize advanced algorithms and sensor networks that can independently recognize power automails and trigger fail-safes before a human operator even registers a problem. Chernobyl taught us that in complex power networks, you can't rely solely on manual overrides. The system architecture itself must be inherently designed to fail safety. Thank you for watching.